there, fellow allergy sufferers. Are you feeling miserable with the arrival of spring, thanks to those pesky pollen allergies? Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, millions of people experience the same discomfort every year. But here's the good news. I've got some tips to help you manage your symptoms and enjoy the outdoors this season. But before we proceed, please consider subscribing to my channel if you will learn anything today. So, let's get to it. Step 1. Identify your triggers. Before we start, let's identify your allergy triggers. After all, if you don't know what's causing your symptoms, how can you avoid it? Not all pollen affects everyone in the same way, so it's important to figure out which types of pollen you're sensitive to. That's where a pollen diary comes in handy. Keep a record of your symptoms and the pollen counts in your area. This way, you can spot patterns and identify which pollen affects you the most. Once you know your triggers, you can take steps to avoid them. Step 2. Limit your exposure. Now that you know your triggers, let's talk about how to avoid them. We're not suggesting you stay indoors all season, but we do have some tips to help reduce your exposure to pollen. Keep an eye on pollen counts. Check the weather forecast or a pollen count website to see when pollen counts are highest. Try to stay indoors during these times, especially in the morning and early evening when pollen counts tend to be highest. Close your windows. Keep your windows closed during high pollen days to prevent pollen from entering your home. Instead, use air conditioning to keep your home cool. Use a HEPA filter. A HEPA filter can help to reduce the amount of pollen in the air. Use one in your home and in your car to help reduce your exposure to pollen. Take a shower. After spending time outdoors, take a shower to rinse pollen off your skin and hair. This can help to reduce the amount of pollen in your home. Wear a mask. If you have to be outdoors during high pollen days, consider wearing a mask to reduce your exposure to pollen. A N95 respirator mask is most effective, but any mask that covers your nose and mouth can help. Step 3. Treat your symptoms. Even with the best efforts to limit your exposure to pollen, you may still experience symptoms. Here are some treatments that can help alleviate your symptoms. Antihistamines. These work by blocking the effects of histamine, a chemical released by your body in response to allergens. Over-the-counter antihistamines such as loratadine, cetirizine, and fexofenadine can be effective in reducing symptoms like sneezing, runny nose, and itchy eyes. Decongestants. These can help to relieve congestion caused by allergies. They work by narrowing the blood vessels in your nasal passages, reducing swelling and congestion. However, they can have side effects like increased heart rate and blood pressure, so they should be used with caution. Over-the-counter options include pseudoephedrine and phenylephrine. Nasal corticosteroids. These are prescription medications that can help reduce inflammation in your nasal passages. They work by decreasing the production of chemicals that cause inflammation. Common nasal corticosteroids include fluticasone and mometasone. Thanks for tuning into my video on how to deal with pollen allergy. We hope you found these tips helpful and can now enjoy the spring season without suffering from allergy symptoms. Remember to keep a pollen diary to identify your triggers, limit your exposure to pollen, and treat your symptoms with the right medication. With a little bit of planning and some proactive steps, you can reduce your symptoms and enjoy the outdoors. Stay healthy and happy. And I will see you in my next video.